Hello, everybody, and welcome to WCTV's newest show, The Waynesburg Effect. I'm Ryan Schwertfeger. Also joining us is Paige Carter. Good to have you back again. And the same with Mr. Adam Karasik. So the way this show works is that each panelist will bring up a current event topic that has an effect on the community, us as college students, or even all of us as Americans. Each panelist will get an opportunity to give their opinion on the issue at hand, and we may even engage in a friendly debate on the topic. Now, while all of us have our opinions, we also do our best to ensure that what we say is backed up with facts, so that you, the viewer, can not only be more informed, but also capable to form your own opinions on the topic we discuss and how that affects you. This is the Waynesburg Effect.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 110. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Welcome back to the Waynesburg Effect. Without further ado, I'd like to ask Paige Carter, would you please start us off?
Thanks, Ryan. Yik Yak, which started out as an active live bulletin board of sorts, has quickly turned college campuses and high schools upside down. Students are able to anonymously post their thoughts onto a public newsfeed that is specialized to the surrounding area. Dozens of issues such as security breaches, explicit content, bomb threats, and cyberbullying are stemming from and directly from the app, and many moral questions are coming into play. As the feed of Yik Yak increasingly becomes more controversial and dangerous, it is hard to say what will become of the app in the coming months. Adam, would you mind expanding on the original intent of Yik Yak, what it's turned into becoming, and what you think college campuses are going to do in response to all of the controversial things happening within the site?
Well, the original intent of Yik Yak wasn't to like you said, mentioned bomb threats and bullying on the internet. It was intended for sort of a bulletin board. So you see here at campus, you'll see like events and everything like posted. Like you can buy tickets to a Penguins game or go to a social event here on campus. It's basically like that, but more updated. So like on Snapchat, when they have those the stories like college football on Saturdays or like live music events. It's supposed to be used for colleges and live music events so that you know what's happening. Like they've closed the cafeteria, like so that instead of Twitter where you follow people that go to different places and are in different areas, it's all one area that you're in so that you know like what's going on at that time. So you know like, oh, well, the cafeteria is closed, so I can't go and eat there. Or I don't know, like this class has been canceled, like instead of checking your email, which takes a little while longer, you can just go on Yik Yak and maybe it'll be there and you'll know a little bit faster. So the original intent was kind of to get messages out there in your local area a little bit quicker and like just see what people are thinking. It wasn't really meant to turn into this cyberbullying kind of thing because I mean, you really don't want that to happen, and obviously it's unfortunate that it did happen to this app, and that wasn't the original intent of the creator. But as you can see, it has turned into that, and it's kind of a sad thing to hear, even though the idea at first is kind of a great idea for.
But don't you think the founders had to have known that students would do that? I mean, if you look at patterns of Twitter and Facebook, even Instagram, it's very common for us to trend toward this. We're obsessed with knowing what's going on and what the other person is doing. And if it's all unanimous, then why wouldn't that turn into it? Like, you really think they had no idea it would turn into this?
Well, I think they did have a good idea, and you're going to get that with whatever app you create, and obviously it's not what they want, but it's going to be there. And so far, they've taken it out of high schools, because high schools seem to be like instead in other like unlike colleges are bigger, and like you don't all stay in the classroom all day. Like you go to your dormitory or you go wherever you want. So it's sort of saying like it's banning it from high schools because it's more of an enclosed area and you're there longer in the day. So they're taking it away. You can't use it near any high schools, and it just it seems like it's working. Less cyberbullying in high schools for this app, so because you can't use it.
Okay. Brian, one of the things that is good that's come from Yik Yak, one of the few, arguably, is that security campuses, the security offices on all college campuses, have been monitoring Yik Yak because this is a great way to know where parties are, issues of security, security breaches, things of that nature. Do you think that this reason, this newfound way for administrations to know exactly what their students are doing, to the general opinion, etc., do you think that is enough to keep Yik Yak around, or do you think that like other colleges and high schools who have trended to just completely take it away from students, do you think that's going to happen, or we're going to keep it around for that?
Well, I think we see this with like all types of social media about how everything just comes in waves. So, at first everyone was going on Twitter, and then, should we do anything about Twitter? Then it was, we had Facebook, Twitter, then we had Ask Me, we had Formspring, all these different things that were coming up. So I think Yik Yak is just the next step that's on this social media tirade, I guess you can call it. It just keeps kind of coming, it doesn't seem to end. So I feel like in the immediate term, everyone wants to address it, everyone wants to solve the problem, but by the time that they do, something else is going to come around anyway, because we're a pretty smart generation, we're always looking for the next newest thing. So I think that for the short term, I think that it's good that security on campuses are able to examine what's going on, and they have some control over it. I'm not sure this is the first time that security has had an influence over social media. Not too long ago, I remember hearing from someone here at Waynesburg University that they track Facebook and Twitter for things about the university to see what's being talked about. So this isn't the first time that security on campuses or high schools are getting involved. I think it's a good thing, but I'm not sure if getting rid of it altogether is going to solve it because people are just going to find something else.
Okay. You brought up a good point. If there is something that happens within the site, Yik Yak had to make it a part of their terms of policy that it could be traced in case they needed to solve something or see what students said this particular thing, especially in instances of cyberbullying and even security breaches. But it's a tedious process. It's not instant, and they have to contact the Yik Yak headquarters, and it almost seems as if it's not going to happen soon enough. There's too many obstacles in the way. So do you think this is going to be reformed in the sense that it's going to be a quicker process for administrations to do that?
I'm not sure if it'll be a quicker process, but I think that it's at least it's a good first step that they're going to address the issue. It seems like all of these social media sites have had to try and address cyberbullying in some fashion, but we'll have to see what happens over time, whether Yik Yak is able to accomplish this or not.
I think that there's going to be lots of changes to Yik Yak, and we're in the experimental phase. Coming up after the break on the Waynesburg Effect, we bust some myths about Ebola and discuss how you can keep your loved ones and yourself safe.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday. Salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, throw a ball Thursday. Water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday. Let's move Monday, sparkle snacks Sunday. All the healthy children eat well and move a lot. And move a lot. And move a lot. Eat well and move a lot. 60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day. Skip a rope Saturday, freeze tag Friday, tap dance Thursday. Whole grains Wednesday, try a veggie Tuesday. Let's move Monday, split the sweet Sunday. Eat well and move a lot. Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday. All the healthy children, all the healthy children. Get ideas. Get involved. Get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
Welcome back to the Waynesburg Effect. Ebola. I'm sure you've heard about it in the news, regardless of what radio stations you listen to, what television stations you watch, or what websites you read. However, as Ebola panic seems to have spread across the United States, with cases over the past month in Texas, New York, Georgia, Nebraska, and Maryland. Facts about what Ebola is seem to not be as clear. So to start off, here's some information from the Center for Disease Control that you should know about, and we're going to be putting this on the screen for you. So first, Ebola can only be transmitted through direct contact. That means through broken skin or via mucous membranes in, for example, your eyes, nose, or mouth, through blood or body fluids, including urine, saliva, sweat, and vomit, or by objects that have been contaminated with the virus, such as needles or syringes. It is important to note that Ebola cannot be spread through air, water, or by food. Second, symptoms of Ebola can appear anytime in a 21-day time frame, and such symptoms can include fever, severe headache, muscle pain, weakness, diarrhea, vomiting, stomach pain, and unusual hemorrhaging. Lastly, and most importantly to note, is that people who have been in West African countries and the people they surround themselves with are those at greatest risk to come down with the virus. Otherwise, one's risk of contracting Ebola is extremely low. The CDC does say that good hygiene and certain precautions are still paramount to be safe than sorry, and so they advise Americans to do the following. Wash your hands frequently. Avoid contact with blood and body fluids. Avoid funerals of people who have died from Ebola. Avoid contact with bats and non-human primates. Avoid hospitals in West Africa. And stay away from people who have recently returned from an Ebola-stricken country. Now, with all that said and done, many public voices in America are taking conflicting actions and making statements regarding the current Ebola outbreak. Some journalists, pundits, and healthcare experts are expressing that the threat of a nationwide Ebola epidemic is extremely low, and that the news media is overhyping the threat. On the other hand, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and New Jersey Governor Chris Christie have recently imposed mandatory quarantines for anyone under suspicion of having the Ebola virus in their states. President Barack Obama has also directed federal officials to conduct fever screenings at several American airports to monitor any arriving passengers to the United States for Ebola. So I'd like to start off with this question to both of you, but I'm going to ask Ms. Carter first. I wanted to ask, what is your opinion on the Ebola outbreak here in America, and whether is this like a major concern, or is this just a small blip on this whole coverage of Ebola?
I definitely think it's being overreacted. There's a handful of states who can say that they are being affected with Ebola, and even then it's minor cases with just a few people. I think it's just a natural effect that the media would take this story and run with it because it's very intriguing and it's easy to follow. So I think that a lot of people who usually don't keep up with the news want to keep up with Ebola because, and this is important to note, it involves their safety. Even though it's very rare that they will be affected with Ebola, it's still something that they feel the need to keep up with.
Same question to you, Mr. Karasik. What's your opinion on the Ebola outbreak here in America? Is this something major, or is this something we shouldn't be paying attention to?
Well, unless you're in West Africa, and obviously we're in America, so obviously this does not seem to be too much of a concern for us. But like they say, there are a lot of people that seem to have contracted the virus. They think so. And a lot of them are in quarantine. So obviously that's something that you don't really have to worry about if they're not out in the open. It seems like this is kind of overreacted. A lot of people are worrying about something that's really not that, important here. If you go to West Africa and you're helping nurse the patients there and you come back, yes, you should probably be tested to see if you have the virus just for safety. But no, it really shouldn't be that much of a concern. It's something that's just overreacted, and it doesn't seem like it should be too much of an issue here in America.
No, it's very interesting. Both of you took the same point of view about that. But I just wanted to read some interesting statistics which I looked up, which shows that apparently Americans do feel like this is a major issue. So a Gallup poll finds that Ebola is now is tied for the 6th most important U.S. problem behind the economy, dissatisfaction with government, unemployment, healthcare, and immigration. And Ebola actually ranks higher on this priority list than terrorism does. And also, Gallup found that 52% of Americans feel very or somewhat confident in the federal government's ability to handle Ebola. So only about half. 24% of Americans are concerned about getting the virus. 15% feel it's very or somewhat likely that they or someone in their family will get it. So, Adam, I'd like to ask with this the first statistic about it now being tied for the sixth most important U.S. issue. Do you think that's a warranted reaction, given that you think that's not really an important issue?
Well, it shouldn't be something that we're really putting a lot of money into, I guess you could say. I feel like it's something that people can worry about because it's scary. It's a disease that we don't have a cure for that is killing people, and it's not really killing a lot of people here. It's only killed one person here. So it seems like it's kind of ridiculous that everyone's starting to think that way, but it's not uncommon to think that way. It's like it doesn't seem to be a big problem here, and so people seem to need to understand that it's not going to be a problem until maybe a little bit more people die and we really struggle to find a cure for it.
And very quickly, I want to go to Ms. Carter with the second part about only 52%. So only just over half of Americans feel confident in the federal government's response to Ebola. What do you think about that? Do you think they've done a good job?
I think they have, and I don't say that a lot. But if you look here, New York was one of the states that were found to have been affected by Ebola. And they have made sure to take measures, the governor. And Chris Christie's joined along. New Jersey's right next to New York. And I think that it's just a matter of people being communicative and just cooperative with the government as they work. And the trust will go up with that being said. A nurse who went to West Africa to help with Ebola tried to fly back into New Jersey, and Chris Christie wanted her to stay quarantined even though she tested negatively for Ebola twice. She threw a fit. There was this whole op-ed piece in CNN about it. But I think that public interest should come over individual rights in this instance, because these are the kind of things and these actions are the kind of actions that are going to continue to protect Americans and keep our numbers so low. Because like Adam said, it's not unwarranted that people are scared of Ebola.
All right, well, thank you, Ms. Carter. Now, coming up next on the Waynesburg Effect, we're going to discuss the sudden fall of McDonald's and the fast food industry. We'll be right back.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are the #1 killer of children 1 through 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Welcome back. As the mindset of a healthier America has come into play, less and less people are visiting the ever-popular fast food chain McDonald's. Some companies believe that low-income families, the ones that buy from them the most, can't afford their food anymore, but statistics disprove that theory. The fast food titan is struggling. Low-income Americans seem to be spending money elsewhere. So the real questions are, why has the classic cheap food from McDonald's become unpopular? Where have their customers gone? And how can McDonald's gain their customers back? And I will first pose the first question. Where have the customers gone to Ms. Carter here?
I think that just in general, it is known that we should be eating healthier. Americans are more aware than ever of the way food is produced. And I know that McDonald's launched a campaign, Our Food, Your Questions, where they were willing to answer any single question about any myth we've ever heard, pink slime included, to discredit the rumors. So I think that it's easier for consumers to say, I would rather have Chipotle or Wendy's, because those companies have always been honest about where their food comes from, and the products are very clearly labeled, and there's never been a question of honesty or dishonesty.
And a different question for you, Ryan, is how can McDonald's gain their customers back? How can they switch to maybe healthier or less options? Maybe how can they get their customers back?
Well, I think they need to reach out to the communities that they're trying to promote the most. I mean, we still see commercials with Olympians with McDonald's food. You know, as a middle-class American, I'm sure for several low-class Americans, there's really nothing that's going to convince them by looking at an Olympian that they should go to McDonald's. I think they need to put the focus back on the food. Yes, McDonald's has a lot of money. They've put it towards different ad campaigns, targeting different groups. But I think instead of just advertising, they need to focus more on the quality of their food. I mean, the reason why people are going to Chipotle and all these other restaurants is because they figure it's healthier, it's still fast, And it's also something different. I mean, because a lot of these people might have had McDonald's for years and years. So I think McDonald's needs to focus on the food they're serving, maybe offer up something new, improve the quality.
Yes, and it seems as though the middle classes and lower classes have shifted to those healthier restaurants, other restaurants like Burger King and Chipotle, Wendy's even. They've put healthier options on their menu, not all healthy, but they're shifting to that sort of sense of mind that they should be making that kind of food because it is important in America, because obviously we have the obesity problem here. Coming up after the break, we will conclude with a viral video segment.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone. But you're not alone. At iava.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community, get the resources you need, and connect to other vets who know where you're coming from. iava.org. We've got your back.
Welcome back to the Waynesburg Effect. Southwest Airlines fulfilled an unusual request by a bride and a groom. Talk about a high-flying romance. 2 frequent flyers choose to make it official at 32,000 feet. Jason Whiteley has the story.
Keith, Dottie, you have consented together in holding
at 32,000 feet, somewhere over Arkansas,
and have exchanged rings as a token.
Southwest Airlines allowed something it has never done before.
In accordance with the laws of the state of Tennessee.
But before you witness the wedding, we want you to meet the bride and groom.
There's a lot of things around flying that tend to not be fun. Let's make it fun again.
We were with Dottie Coven and Keith Stewart in Nashville.
Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, we're going to begin the...
As Flight 4058
Welcome aboard.
boarded for Dallas Love Field.
It's nonstop love. That's what it's all about.
I should know this.
They don't work for the airline. Just fly it a lot.
How many of you thought you were going to a wedding today?
Not long after climbing out of Nashville, a 4-year-old flower girl named Sydney passed out peanuts.
Thank you.
And as music played over the intercom, Dottie danced down the aisle to get married.
We are gathered here today, whether you intended to or not.
The front of a 737 is a tight squeeze for a wedding.
If anyone can show just cause why they might not be lawfully joined together, let them push their flight attendant call button now.
The couple read vows from their mobile phones.
I, Keith, take Dottie to be my lawfully wedded wife.
As everyone else used theirs to capture the moment.
I, Dottie, choose you, Keith, to be my husband in front of our friends, our family, and random but very special guests.
141 guests to be exact.
Here's what's most remarkable. Together, Keith and Dottie have accumulated so many rapid rewards points for flying so much, they were able to get tickets on this flight for 30 family and friends who all witnessed the ceremony sitting in seatbelts.
I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride.
A unique union, 6 miles high on the way to Texas. Keith and Dottie met 2 years ago, online. She's in sales, he is in IT, and they are on the road constantly.
We were literally sitting at a gate in Baltimore waiting for a flight and just thinking, what should we do? And we both were like, well, what about getting married? What about getting married on a plane? Why not?
A marriage, like life.
It was great.
Yeah. That's more about the journey than the destination. Jason Whiteley, Channel 8 News.
Lastly, we'd like to extend our welcome home to Sergeant Andrew Tamarisi after spending 7 months in a Mexican prison. He was arrested by Mexican authorities in March after they found 3 firearms in his truck at the Tijuana border, but the Marine says he simply made a wrong turn. Mary Mueller has the latest on his release and the diplomatic effort to bring him home.
After crossing the border, Sergeant Andrew Tamarisi finally made it to the U.S. That's him hugging family and friends at a San Diego airport before boarding a flight home to Miami. The Marine who served in Afghanistan and suffers from untreated PTSD spent 214 days in a Mexican prison until a Mexican court decided to grant him a humanitarian release on weapons charges and recommended he get treatment for his PTSD.
The Mexican government was not pressured, but they made the correct judicial decision, which is based on PTSD.
Former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, along with former talk show host and veterans advocate Montel Williams, were in San Diego to see him reunite with his family. Both pressed heavily for his release over the past few months.
I went to visit Sergeant Tamarisi last week at his prison. I told him I thought the release was imminent.
This experience for him in the last 7 months is, in a lot of ways, has re-traumatized him, and this is almost like, let's call it prison PTSD.
Sergeant Tamarisi's family has accused the prison of abusing their son and denying him food and water. The Marine hasn't talked about his experience since his return, but a family spokesman says it will come in time.
They're now together as a family, and at the appropriate time and place, he will speak for himself.
I'm Mary Muller reporting.
Thank you again for joining us in the Waynesburg Effect. We'll see you next time.